The current price of gas and the cost of living has us thinking about our next move. Should we invest in a hybrid vehicle or an electric one? If prices are going to keep on their way upward trend, then buying a car that runs just on petrol might be a little too expensive. We have only two options left: hybrid or electric cars. Which one should you get? Keep watching to find out. First up, how do ICE cars work? Since this video is all about the hybrid versus electric debate, we need to understand how an internal combustion engine, also known as ICE, works. That's because while EVs don't have an engine, hybrids still do. So let's have a crash course. ICE engines take a mix of fuel and air and use sparks to ignite that mixture. The energy released from the ignition then drives the wheels of your car. The extent to which you press your gas pedal determines how much fuel goes into the engine. So it's pretty simple. If you floor the car, it'll consume more gas. If you drive carefully, it'll consume less gas. And of course, ICE engines come in all shapes and sizes, but we'll need a whole other video to discuss that. The point is that the bigger the engine, the more gas it'll consume. Now, solution seems simple. Just build smaller power units, right? It's not, because then the smaller unit will have to work twice as hard to power the car, which will end up making the savings minimal. Consequently, folks, if you want to see real savings, you pretty much only have two options: hybrid or electric. But which is the best option for you? Let's find out. Moving on, how do hybrid cars work? Hybrids are a lot more complicated than electric cars, as you'll later on see in this video. A hybrid is powered by both an ICE engine and an electric motor. The ICE engine powers the battery, which powers the motor. A hybrid will do a lot more MPGs or KMPLs than a car that just runs on gas. If you floor the car or drive it in sports mode, it'll use the engine to its fullest extent, while also using its batteries and electric motors to their fullest extent. And that's actually what F1 cars do as well. They're hybrids, not to save on gas or anything, but to be able to deliver instant torque when required. But on any normal day, if you drive under 30 miles per hour, the car will just use its batteries. If you drive higher than that, it'll use both the engine and batteries in harmony. A lot of modern hybrid vehicles also completely shut off their engines when stopping for lights. Now, obviously, things aren't as simple as they seem at first, because there are quite a couple things to consider. Firstly, hybrids are more expensive up front. Secondly, they're more expensive to maintain. And thirdly, you might need to get the car's batteries replaced. Although that won't happen till at least 2 decades, but batteries can cost a fortune. But it's not all bad, because now we're seeing other types of hybrids out there, but we'll get to that later in this video. For now, let's talk about the electric vehicle. Next up, how do EVs or electric vehicles work? EVs are a lot more simple than hybrid cars. They're a lot more simple than ICE cars as well. Picture your phone for a minute. You charge it, then you use it around all day. It doesn't require any parts to charge or any maintenance unless you break something. EVs are something similar. They do require some maintenance, but it's minimal. The car is powered by electric motors, which are in turn powered by batteries. You can change those little green cars at your home or any public or private charging stations. If you're not too happy about the impact on your utility bill, you could also install solar panels in your home to charge these things. Lots of folks with Teslas are already doing this, so there's no cost to fill up your car at all whatsoever. However, again, there are downsides to these cars too. First of all, they were expensive. A lot more expensive, especially than their ICE or hybrid counterparts. Secondly, the environmental impact of driving them might be low, but manufacturing an EV is catastrophic to the environment. That's because you need a lot, and we need a lot of lithium and cobalt. Lastly, an EV can't travel long distances without charging, and a single fast charge might even take up to 1 hour, so you're gonna go on the other side of the country in an EV, you'll be making lots and lots of stops. Oh, and let's not forget, not all regions have that charging infrastructure. As a consequence, you'll need to pre-plan your trips. If EVs and hybrid cars both don't work for you, we present you with the third option, PHEVs. Up next, there's more than one kind of hybrid car. If all the cons that we just mentioned for both the cars don't outweigh the pros for you, then don't worry, because there's another kind of car that you might be interested in. The plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, also known as the PHEV, could be the answer to all your problems. Imagine if an EV and a hybrid car had a baby. Yep, that's it. You're imagining the PHEV. PHEVs are a lot like electric cars. They have massive batteries which power motors to drive your car. You charge them up in your home and you charge them in charging stations to keep them going. They have a lot more all-electric range than hybrids, but at the same time, they have ICE engines to fall back on, power the car, and charge the batteries. And since these cars can be charged up, their engines aren't super big, saving more on fuel costs. At the same time, you won't have have range anxiety, and you'll know your car won't give up on you in the middle of your trip. For example, the Mercedes C300E is a PHEV. It's like any other family sedan, but it does over 400 miles per gallon. That's a whopping 170 plus kilometers per liter. So there you go, the best of both worlds. But then those cars are the most expensive to maintain, and the presence of batteries and an engine really make our car bulky and not all fun to drive. And let's not forget, they're a lot more expensive than conventional hybrids. But don't lose all hope just yet, because there's also more than one type of EV. Let's talk about the hydrogen fuel cell EV. Alright, here's where it gets interesting. What if there was an EV that you'd never have to charge, you could fill it up and drive, but at the same time, it wouldn't have any emissions and you won't have to pay for gas? Sounds like a pipe dream? Well, you better start believing, because a car like that does exist. The fuel cell electric vehicle, also known as the FCEV, is like a hybrid because it uses hydrogen instead of gasoline to power the car and its batteries, but then at the same time, it's like electric because it uses hydrogen instead of gasoline to power the car and its batteries, but then at the same time, it's like electric because it has zero, absolutely zero tailpipe emission. You could just fill it up with hydrogen just like you would fill up an ICE car, so say goodbye to range anxiety. Despite being around for years, however, this tech hasn't really caught on, mostly because storing that much hydrogen in a tank isn't the safest thing out there. If we can somehow manage to make that safe, FCEVs might just be the win-win the world needs right now. And because the lack of these cars, the upfront cost of buying one would be quite a lot more. But hey, if you're tired of paying for gas, at least you have not one, not two, but 4 different types of cars you could buy. Now that we've gone over all the different green vehicles, let's talk about what you should buy. Finally, what car should you buy? First of all, you need to consider your living situation. Yep, that's really important. If you own your home, perfect. You can install solar panels and a charger, and then you can charge your EV for free. However, if you rent, you might not be allowed to install a charger. You most probably won't be allowed to install solar panels, so even if you can charge, it'll have to come from the grid. In that case, a hybrid would be the best option for you. Another thing you need to consider is how often you travel. If your car will run within the city, then an EV will be perfect for you. But if you travel between cities, especially in areas where chargers aren't that common, you might want to look at a hybrid or a PHEV. One of the most important things to also consider is costs. Hybrids are cheaper than EVs, and the less reliant a hybrid is on gas, the more expensive it is, but EVs are cheaper to maintain. That's because they barely have any moving parts, so you don't have to get their oil changed, nor do you have to get multiple fluids exchanged, except the blinker fluid. Kidding, of course. Lastly, do you consider your government's policies? Do they give rebates on EVs? Do they tax ICE cars extra? Once you've calculated all the taxes and rebates, and have considered all the things we told you, we're sure you can make the right decision. Alright, that's a wrap. Which car would you buy out of all these? And if you plan on sticking to ICE, then why so? Let us know all your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.